LeBron James, he is confident the Lakers can run it back in the upcoming 2021 campaign, citing a younger squad, also picking up Marc Gasol. So here's what the King had to say about it on the podcast Road Trippin'. He said, "We can repeat. I mean, it's that simple. We absolutely can. First of all, it all starts with health. You have to have some luck. You have to have health. If we can stay healthy, ... All right, you can fill in the blank there with that ... Of course, there is going to be some other competition in the West trying to keep the Lakers from making it to the title game once again. That team playing also in the Staples Center. So I ask you, Max, is Kawhi going to be the one that stands in the way of the Lakers making it to a championship once again?
Oh, I hesitate to answer this question because I know what's coming. So I'm going to give my answer, and then I'm going to lay out for a while. And then I'm coming back at you, Stephen A.
Okay.
Let me just say the answer to the question, does Kawhi have the best shot to stop LeBron, is no.
What?
The floor is yours.
What? Really? Oh, you know something, Max? Max Kellerman is hilarious. Let me get this straight. The best player in the world, Kawhi Leonard, your guy. The guy that's the best player in the world, Stephen A. Tell me, please, he's the man. It's not LeBron. He's not the king. That dude, Kawhi Leonard, who led the Clippers. That's right. Go hide, Max. Wait a minute. Let me put an APB out for Max Kellerman. Where the hell is he? Get your behind back here. Don't hide now. You got to be kidding me. Excuse me? Kawhi Leonard, who just got Serge Ibaka, who still has Paul George. He's got Ty Lue as a new coach. That's right. Show that face, Max Kellerman. Show that face. You got to be kidding me. You're going to sit up here with a straight face? I don't even give a damn about what your answer is. That's right. Ooh, I can't believe him. I can't believe you actually sat there with a straight face and said, not Kawhi Leonard. Not Kawhi Leonard. The season hasn't started yet. Preseason hasn't started yet. The Clippers lost a 3-1 lead. They're highly motivated. Kawhi's got something to prove. Ty Lue's his new coach. Paul George got to show that he ain't going to hit the side of backboard from three-point range. And I love Paul George, so I don't like getting on him. Reggie Jackson has been retained. Patrick Beverley is still there. Serge Ibaka has replaced Montrezl Harrell. You're trying to tell me that you don't believe that Kawhi Leonard, your dude, the number one player in the world, the two-time champion, the two-time finals MVP, that dude does not have he's not the favorite to knock off LeBron. I didn't even sit up there and ask you, is he going to knock off LeBron? I said, should he be the favorite? And your answer is no, Max Kellerman? No? Really? Really?
You said something just now that explains why. You said you like Paul George, you don't want to get on him. That's the reason. If it was Kawhi on a team built that has a similar strength to the Lakers, that's one thing. It is not. Because his second banana, Paul George, goes away in the playoffs. Stephen A., Kawhi needs all the extra credit to be considered better than LeBron. I thought he was going to get it. I thought he was Mr. Game 7, fourth quarter. I seen it. He didn't. He wasn't that this last season. And if he doesn't have that going for him, the clutch thing going for him, I can't put him ahead of LeBron, who's better than everyone else, right? But I thought Kawhi is a two-way player, plus when you need it most, given his age, everything. I was proven wrong when he went away in the fourth quarter against Denver in the playoffs. However, Kawhi is a beast. Kawhi actually had a great playoffs. Kawhi was the reigning finals MVP heading into the season, his second finals MVP. He's a great player in his prime. If he had another player of his caliber, like LeBron does, on his team, and the proper role players around him, I would pick Kawhi to win. He doesn't. He doesn't. If you're second banana, they have two superstars on the team. It's really only one superstar and one star who are always waiting to become a superstar, but he doesn't do it. You brought up hit the side of the rim, had the side of the backboard in game 7, right? In the fourth quarter. Side of the backboard. He's so off, he loses confidence in the moment of truth. How can I say that Kawhi got the best chance? Put Kawhi with another dude like him, the way LeBron's with AD. And then, sure, by the way, Stephen A., even bring in Chris Paul switch teams, right? Bring in a Chris Paul. Bring in a dynamic playmaker to make the offense cohesive. I still would have picked the Clippers. They didn't. I can't.
So just a question, man. So it's Paul George's fault that Kawhi Leonard isn't the kind of leader that can galvanize troops. It's Paul George's fault that Kawhi Leonard is superstar, as much of a superstar player as he is, walks around with such an indifferent mentality, all about making sure he handles his business as an individual, but doesn't necessarily maximize the potential around him. That's Paul George's fault. Was it Paul George's fault that Kawhi Leonard shot 6 of 22 from the field and scored 14 points in a Game 7 after losing a 3-1 lead, but Jamal Murray had 40? That's Paul George's fault, too? I thought that Kawhi was the elite defender. I thought that he was the best player in the world. I thought that he was the ultimate leader. That's what you said. That's what you said. Now, I know you said oops. I understand that.
I didn't say
man. I know you said oops. I know you said oops. I think it would have been appropriate. Matter of fact, I got another beef with you, Max. And you know what the other beef with you is? I thought it was an exceptional thing that you did right now, just hiding out of the camera. That's what you should have did after they lost Game 7. My only beef with you is, why didn't you do it then? What you doing? What you saving for this morning?
Well,
for?
I might be slow, but
where
I'm
was
not
that
stupid.
Max Kellerman from this morning that was hiding from the camera, hiding away from the camera? Where was that Max Kellerman after Game 7 when Kawhi Leonard shot 6 of 22, finished with 14 points, let Jamal Murray drop 40, damn near average 40 for the series, and oh, by the way, all Max had was a oops. You should have been hiding from the camera that day.
Right.
That's my beef.
Nah. Look, here's the bottom line. Kawhi had a bad Game 7. He's had very few bad clutch performances in his career, and he's had more clutch performances than almost anyone. Like, whoever lived. Like, you look at how many clutch performances Kawhi has had since he was a 22-year-old, before he even knew what he was doing. He wasn't highly touted or anything like that. Since Boardman gets paid out of college, just happy to be drafted and all that stuff. He is a very clutch player. Even clutch players have very bad nights.
Well,
he picked the wrong night to have a bad night. But what I'm saying is, I don't expect a repeat of that from Kawhi. More often than not, he comes through. So then it becomes, what's his supporting cast like? I like Ibaka over Harrell. I think that's a marginal improvement, right? But Stephen A., you and I both know they needed a point guard. It's just the position Kawhi plays. Kawhi can run your offense okay.
Hold on.
He's an above-average passer at this point in his career for a small forward, but he's not right. Rondo or CP3
they wanted
would have been
Rondo,
even better. But they
Atlanta offered them about $10 million more. They offered them about $10 million more.
I get it, but we have to admit, the Clippers, if they got better, got marginally better in the offseason and didn't get what they needed. And the reason they need more is because Paul George ain't AD. Paul George ain't AD. Never considered like AD, not AD. AD is AD. He's an MVP caliber player. So what's that?
I'm going to say this. I am in no way trying to throw shade on Kawhi and act like Kawhi is not great. Kawhi is one of the top 5 players on the planet. He is a great, great player. But he ain't no LeBron James. He ain't on that level. And it's time for you to emphatically admit that. A shot to knock off LeBron. Well, who the hell does? I'm asking.
I believe
that's a really good point.
If Porzingis is healthy, Luka Doncic has the best chance. If Porzingis is healthy, and I say that LeBron? Because the Dallas Mavericks in Doncic have a guy who's already playing almost as well as anyone in the world, right on that MVP level, and there's room for improvement on the defensive end and three-point shooting, which I believe he can do. So that plus a 7'3" guy who can shoot the three and defend if he's healthy, I think that's the best chance of anybody.
A shot to knock off LeBron. Well, who the hell does? I'm asking.
I believe
that's a really good point.
If Porzingis is healthy, Luka Doncic has the best chance. If Porzingis is healthy, and I say that because the Dallas Mavericks in Doncic have a guy who's already playing almost as well as anyone in the world, right on that MVP level, and there's room for improvement on the defensive end and three-point shooting, which I believe he can do. So that plus a 7'3" guy who can shoot the three and defend if he's healthy, I think that's the best chance of anybody.
A shot to knock off LeBron. Well, who the hell does? I'm asking.
I believe
that's a really good point.
If Porzingis is healthy, Luka Doncic has the best chance. If Porzingis is healthy, and I say that because the Dallas Mavericks in Doncic have a guy who's already playing almost as well as anyone in the world, right on that MVP level, and there's room for improvement on the defensive end and three-point shooting, which I believe he can do. So that plus a 7'3" guy who can shoot the three and defend if he's healthy.
Forrest tweeting that he's returning to the Lakers. Marc Gasol is finalizing a deal, according to Woj. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is locked up as well. Max, all that being said, who is the biggest threat to the Lakers in the West?
I actually think, based on what I've seen so far in the offseason, where I think the Nuggets really didn't take a step forward, where I think the Clippers maybe got marginally better with the Ibaka signing, where I look around, obviously the Warriors are hobbled. I actually think it's the Mavericks if they stay healthy. Porzingis won't start the season because they're being very careful with his knee. But assuming that he is rested and healthy, and he'll have most of a regular season to ramp up and to make sure he's in shape for the playoffs. In fact, he's going to play, especially considering the start date of the season, he's going to play the vast majority of the regular season, knock wood. I look at that Mavericks series against the Clippers, and I thought the Clippers were lucky to get past them. The Mavericks, don't forget, the Clippers were lucky when Porzingis got ejected for something he shouldn't have been ejected for. They won that game, and then eventually Porzingis couldn't play, and they won out. But I thought the Mavericks were the better team based on what I saw, and when both teams were at full strength, they were better. And by the way, Luka Doncic is a superstar, and he's so young, he is likely to get better. There's actually room for improvement in his game. He can shoot the ball better. He takes a lot of threes, but he can shoot the ball better, and he looks like a shooter. Like when he shoots the ball, you go, yeah, that looks good. I expect his shooting to get better, Stephen A., which is scary when you think about it. I expect his defense to get better because he's not a good defender, although maybe not quite as bad as his reputation at this point. When I look at Kleber and the roster surrounding these guys, they have length, they have shooting. I think the Mavericks are the biggest threat to the Lakers if they are healthy.
I disagree with you. I think the number one threat to the Los Angeles Lakers, who are the clear I don't want to say by a mile, but pretty damn close. The Los Angeles Lakers did their due diligence this offseason. They put in the work that nobody else in the Western Conference put in, which is inexplicable to me. And I think acquiring a guy like, Montrezl Harrell, keeping Morris, adding what they added to the equation, trade and what have you, I definitely think that the Los Angeles Lakers are the clear prohibitive favorite. Number two behind them would be the Los Angeles Clippers. As far as I'm concerned, the Dallas Mavericks improved defensively, but they've taken a step back offensively. I'm not a believer. The Denver Nuggets should not have lost Jeremy Grant. I don't know why he took $60 million from Detroit, but didn't take it from Denver. It doesn't seem to make much sense to me, even though I believe in Michael Porter Jr. I still think that the Denver Nuggets, in terms of their depth, I don't think they're the same team. I think the Los Angeles Clippers are the team to look out for. When you look at Harrell was obviously the sixth man of the year. He was an Energizer bunny off the bench, but he doesn't necessarily have Ibaka's game. Ibaka's got his size, his height, maybe even a little bit taller. He definitely has a better perimeter shot. He's a better rim protector as well in terms of, blocking shots, if not rebounding. All of those things added to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and their motivation, having something to prove after getting bounced out the way that they did. I don't think enough can be said about that. I'm certainly not saying they're better than the Los Angeles Lakers because we know better. But when you look at the fact that they've got a new fresh voice in Ty Lue, who's anxious to prove some things, who knows a thing or two about how to coach LeBron James, let alone against him. Then you combine that with Kawhi Leonard, your best player in the world, Max, at least until he got bounced out by Denver. The bottom line is that when you consider all the things that they had to do to acquire Kawhi Leonard, if there is somebody that's got to step up and produce and shows that he was worth all the sacrifices they made to get him, it's him, Mr. Load Management himself. He is a great, great player, a top 5 talent in the league. But he ain't even in the top 20 when it comes to leadership. We all know that. Paul George is a star, but you can't be a superstar unless you show up when it really, really counts, which he has yet to prove. And I love the guy. But you combine those
Right.
two with their talent, with the motivation, with Ty Lue and Serge Ibaka being added to that equation, I would say, even though they're not better than the Lakers, they're better than everybody else in the Western Conference when it really, really counts.
Know something? I like the offseason move of picking up Ibaka, especially on the deal they did, but he's not going to fix what you just said, Stephen A. I would be with you on the Clippers if I thought Paul George was a rise to the occasion kind of guy. Now, Kawhi choked in Game 7, right? Like, he had a bad game, especially in this. Unlike him. What I'm saying is, when you point to Paul George and talk about becoming a superstar instead of just an all-star,
okay,
you were the one who made a big deal about him hitting the side of the backboard, right? The acquisition of Serge Ibaka doesn't fix that in Paul George, who's really one of your centerpiece. Like, you have two centerpiece, right, cornerstone guys, Kawhi and Paul George. When I look at the Mavericks and I look at their cornerstone guys, Luka Doncic is a killer. And Kristaps Porzingis, give me Porzingis in the playoffs if he's healthy all day over Paul George, in the playoffs especially. And then I mentioned the supporting cast, guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, right? Like, good, long, they can defend, they can shoot. And they had Josh Richardson, a real 3-and-D kind of wing. And they had a good offseason, especially considering it looked like they had limited resources. If they stay healthy, to me, the Mavericks have a top two that stack up with just about anyone. Even if you wanted to say who's the best top two other than LeBron and AD this upcoming season, I anticipate that's going to be Luka and Porzingis. And they have a deep and effective supporting cast and a real coach. I really think it only matters. The health is really the only question for me. If they stay healthy, to me, that's the team.
Well, that's a big if because of Porzingis, and we know how fragile he is. Talented, but fragile. And when the game slows down in the postseason, they tend to get more physical with you. Obviously, he can put up buckets. He's 7'3", and he can shoot the rock. We get what Porzingis brings to the table when healthy. The reality is, though, because the game slows down and you're allowed a bit more physicality, that usually hinders him in some capacity. That's number one. Number two, again, you can't fix Paul George, but that was an aberration. I don't expect him to hit the side of the backboard again, okay? I still expect him to average over 20. I think his shooting percentage will be better. But Serge Ibaka is an upgrade from Harrell, who I love. Love Harrell. But he's not Serge Ibaka on the defensive side of the ball as a rim protector, and he's certainly not Serge Ibaka in terms of the ability to hit those shots. And you got to remember, because Serge Ibaka can hit those shots, he's a guy that's going to get some of those opportunities that Montrezl Harrell never presented. Third, and more important, let's understand this about the game of basketball. If you are not a threat from the perimeter, it allows me as a defense to key even more on the perimeter threats because I don't have to spread my defense but so much. And I'm not compromised because I don't